Thanks to the members of the media for joining our press conference today. We will start with an opening statement from our general manager, Kelly McCrimmon. Kelly?
Good afternoon to the members of the media. Thank you for being available. Today, we completed a trade with the Chicago Blackhawks for Marc-Andre Fleury. And just to give the people on the call some background on two things, I guess, the rationale behind it, as well as the process that we use throughout. I'd begin, I guess, by saying these were conversations that began between Marc-Andre and myself at our exit meetings on June 29th. At that time, I told Marc that I couldn't say for sure what we would do with our goaltending for the upcoming year. I said to him, I wanted to treat him professionally. I wanted to treat him with respect. I wanted to have open lines of communication. I wanted him to be fully aware of any discussions that I might have with teams. I wanted him to be completely comfortable if he heard rumors or saw things out there that made him uncomfortable or made him curious, that he certainly should feel free to call me. We spoke many times from that day up until as recently as this Saturday that I spoke with his representatives for the final time. On July the 12th, I believe we spoke 3 times. I made Flower aware of Chicago's interest. We had an open discussion about that. And any other team that I spoke to, or any other team that contacted me from the time that I met with Marc-Andre on June 29th until up to and including a new team who contacted me for the first time on Saturday, of which I made them aware. So I think that communication throughout this process was very good. I told Marc at the exit meeting, I want to be able to look him in the eye and tell myself and make him understand or make him feel that he's been treated professionally throughout this time frame. With respect to and I should conclude with respect to this morning. The rumors hit Twitter before I spoke to Marc-Andre Fleury. We had not, in fact, even completed the trade call. We hadn't begun the trade call with NHL Central Registry. We would never speak to a player before you got to the trade call in case things don't unfold. So with respect to this morning, it was on Twitter before we had our trade call completed, and yet, as I've just detailed, there was many discussions throughout the time leading up until today. In terms of the why, what's the rationale behind the move? I think, as you on the call here would all know, we've been really fortunate. We had 2 great goaltenders in our organization with Marc-Andre and Robin Lehner. I give both players a lot of credit. We made the decision to go with that tandem last year based on a number of factors. We collectively won the Jennings Trophy. Marc-Andre individually won the Vezina Trophy. We had 40 wins, which was tops in the NHL. We tied for the President's Trophy. We had a successful playoff. We definitely benefited from both of those goaltenders. I think that when you look forward to this year, I think that same scenario might have been a little harder to manage. I mentioned just a minute ago that I give both Marc-Andre and Robin a great deal of credit for how they handled it, but I know also that these are 2 goalies that are both starters, and I don't know that there would have been the same appetite to do it the same way from those players. Neither goaltender, to their credit, expressed any concern or any issue. It just, I guess, more my own observations with respect to that. And then I guess it ties into my job is to try to make our team better, and to do that, you need cap space to improve. And I know last year being a cap team, if we're going to work on any free agents, Alec Martinez is one that we've been working on. We're hoping to have news with respect to his status tomorrow. We haven't made final decisions on Matthias Janmark or Thomas Nosek. The discussions you have with other teams about players that might be available, the free agents that might be available tomorrow. If you're going to improve your team, there's a cap space component to that is definitely challenging. So those things all tie into the decision, and I guess that at this point, more importantly than anything I've said so far, I'd like to thank Marc-Andre Fleury for his time in Vegas. It's incredible the moments that we shared with him as part of our organization. He was the most popular player I've ever seen in sports. He was the face of the franchise. When you think back to how it all began, the storybook first season, the passion that he has for the game as both a teammate and a player that's connected to the fan base. I want to recognize his great accomplishments, thank him for his time here. He's had a tremendous impact on our organization. He's had a tremendous impact on our city. So I know for a lot of people, this is a day that definitely is filled with sadness, and certainly I share all of those same emotions that you do, and yet I do feel I'm responsible to try to do everything I can to put the best team on the ice. That's what I'm doing along with the other people in our hockey operations. We work hard to make good decisions and give you a team that you're going to be proud of. So again, more importantly than how I opened, I want to make sure that Marc-Andre is recognized for all that he's done for this organization. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Kelly. As a reminder to media members, please use the raise hand function of Zoom, and we will start with questions. First question today will go to Ed Graney of the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Yeah, Kelly, can you also speak to the control you don't have in situations like this, whether it be agents, the other team? You can't really tell them what to do, I assume, in terms of releasing stuff, and how difficult that is to get through times like this when you're not really in control other than what you guys do. And second part to that, in relation to past announcements such as this, whether it be Schmidt or otherwise, do you feel you guys have always kind of done your best to make sure they're aware of it before it would hit social media?
Yeah, thanks, Ed. I think with respect to the first part of your question, one of the things you open yourself up to when you share information is that information might go elsewhere, might be used differently. I think as time went on, we felt that was happening, so we tightened up our circle a little bit at the end. But at the same time, I knew all of that going into it, and it was more important to me to be open and transparent with Marc-Andre than any potential risks there might be by making that circle bigger than what you might ordinarily. So I'm really comfortable with the way we chose to do it, and that was a conscious decision that I made again immediately following the season. With respect to how things get out, I mean, you guys are in the business, and certainly it's almost now like there's rarely any news a team announces, and I don't mean just our team, I mean in sports, that it isn't out there in advance. And of course, if you're the team, you can't speak to things or announce moves that your team has made until they're final. And it's, as I touched on earlier, that we can't contact a player and tell that player that he's been traded if we haven't completed a trade call. There's just a process that you have to go through in terms of the timing of that. Unfortunately, and maybe it ties into the first part of your question, it all leaks out. It just always seems to. But it's not a lack of regard for the players. And again, in this situation, Marc-Andre was fully abreast of the discussions all the way through, not just in relation to the team where he was ended up being traded to, the Chicago Blackhawks, but any other conversations that I had previously.
Next question today will come from Greg Wyshynski, ESPN.com.
Thanks a lot. Hey, Kelly.
Hi, Greg.
There are reports that Marc-Andre does not want to play for the Blackhawks. His agent said he's going to seriously evaluate his hockey future at this time. In your discussions with him about the Blackhawks, did Marc-Andre ever indicate to you that he did not want to play in Chicago or would not play there if traded there?
Marc-Andre wanted to play in Vegas. That never changed. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone on the call. So that was his number one preference. With respect to what decisions he might make moving forward, this is a player that is at the very top of his game. I believe will be a candidate to play on the Canadian Olympic team. So I sure think that he'll play this year, but those are things that I would leave he or others to speak about.
Next question this morning will go to Ben Goetz, Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Hi, Kelly. You mentioned, not having the appetite to have both your number one goaltenders back. Did you consider moving Robin Lehner as well, or were your sole focus on moving Marc-Andre Fleury?
Yeah, and I think, Ben, any of those types of discussions, stay internal. It ended like it ended. We made the decision that we made, and that's probably all I would say to that, Ben.
Next question will come from Michael Trakos of Post Media.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks for doing this. Just wondering, with the cap space available, how much does this set up Vegas for another move, whether it's in free agency or possibly in a trade where there's a lot of options available?
Well, we'll use our resources to work to make the team as strong and competitive as possible. There's never any guarantees you're going to be able to do the things that you might like to do. There's a lot of factors at play. Obviously, when you get to free agency, if that's the route that we go, there's 32 teams. Free agency has changed a little bit over the last couple of years, where there's no what was referred to as a courting period prior to free agency, where you might have a bit of a feel where you stood with respect to a certain player. It now opens, I describe it opens with a starter's pistol on Wednesday. So it's a little harder to predict. We'll, I might have mentioned, I think the last time we did media availability, we have our pro staff here in town. We have players of interest across the league that may or may not be part of our discussions here over the next few days. And we'll be working hard to try to put the best team together that we can.
Next question today will go to David Shane, Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Hi, Kelly. Last time I kind of asked you about, Bill being so public about wanting Marc-Andre to stay and Marc-Andre being so public about wanting to stay. Now that it's resolved itself this way, do you feel a little bit like the bad guy in all of this? How do you kind of, resolve that? Is that something you're okay with, sort of being the person out front that's taking the brunt of this?
David, these are hard jobs, and you have to make tough decisions. And I just really feel it's always about what's best for the organization, and that's what I'm trying to do. Bill had a really special relationship with Marc-Andre. I do not suspect that's going to change moving forward. I know that they were very close. Bill thinks the world of Flower, and I know that Flower has a great deal of respect for Bill. But again, for me, I try to do what I believe is in the best interest of the Vegas Golden Knights. Every decision that we make is based on the same thing. There's some constraints. There's some constraints to do this in a league where you've got a flat salary cap, where it's competitive. We're a real good team. That's each of the 4 years we've played, we feel we've dressed a better team than the year previous. So when you have that those type of expectations and that type of standard that you're trying to reach, your margins are pretty tight.
Next question today will go to Justin Emerson of the Las Vegas Sun.
Hey, Kelly, do you anticipate adding another goalie, whether it be through free agency or trades, or do you feel comfortable with Logan Thompson as your number 2 for next season?
Good question. We'll look to add a backup goaltender here, and between now and the foreseeable future here in the next couple of weeks, I'm sure we'll be able to add that position.
Next question today will go to Nick Kotsnika of NHL.com.
Hi, Kelly. How much of a priority is a number 1 center?
I like our centers. We've added 2 centers to our team in the last week, who I think are going to firm up the bottom half of our lineup. Both guys that I think have a chance of growing and improving and developing. And Chandler Stevenson did the job extremely well this year. I think his performance was right on par with the top centers around the league. And obviously William Karlsson is as good a two-way center as there is. So it seems, Nick, to concern people outside the organization probably a little more than people inside of the organization. But fair question. When you look around the league, there's some teams that are pretty stacked up at that position. We feel we talk more in terms of our our top 9 forwards, or our 4 lines, or our defense as a group, than we do about being feeling that we're not strong enough at any one position in particular.
Next question will go to Chris Matthews of Channel 8 Las Vegas.
Hey, Kelly, I was just wondering, you talked about Marc-Andre Fleury being the face and so forth of the franchise and being around from the beginning, and how he was just so beloved in that city. Can you kind of talk about this probably being your most difficult decision as a general manager in the NHL, and just probably the cruelty of the business of sports to fans?
Well, today's not about me, Chris. It's about Marc-Andre, and again, as I've mentioned here a couple of times, it's the nature of the job. If you want to do your job well, you have to make hard decisions. It's easy to sit on your hands and let time pass by without trying to do what you can to help your hockey team. So these decisions aren't made in a vacuum. It involves other people. It involves George McPhee, our president. It involves Vaughn Karpen and our pro staff. It's discussions that I keep our head coach Pete DeBoer abreast of. So I'm at the end of the day the person that makes the decision, but we feel we're always doing what we can to help this team be the best team it can be, and that's what I feel my mandate is.
It's time for a few more questions today for Kelly. Next question will go to Lindsey Brown of 1140 The Bet.
Hey, Kelly, thanks for taking the time to do this. Just to kind of specifically ask you about your vision for the goaltending department in terms of usage. You will have to bring in a body, whether that's through promoting from within or free agency or trade. But in terms of how you guys approach, will it be a tandem style, or will Leonard be expected to carry more of a traditional game load in the upcoming season with a normal slate of games?
Yeah, that's a good question, Lindsay. I think that what you're seeing around the NHL is, next year will be a normal 82 game season. I think the days of a goaltender playing 60 to 65 games, I think are, we're moving away from that. I think when you look around the NHL at, the usage of goaltenders, and there's exceptions. There's, the elite players that still are able to do that. I think what we're looking for is a really good backup goaltender. That's what we want. We are quite comfortable that Robin is a real good starter. He'll, his workload will reflect that, but at the same time, we want Robin to be at his very best, and I feel strongly for your starter to be at his very best. You have to have a backup that you trust, that can get you wins and can allow you to use your starter to the best of his ability.
Time for 2 more questions this morning. Next, we'll go to Guillaume Lafrance from the La Presse.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to know, I mean, obviously from the outside, it's it might be easy to see it as a decision based on Marc-Andre's age and his contract status. Were there other factors that came into play when it came time for you to decide between moving on with either Marc-Andre or Robin?
Well, I think when you go back to the decision that we made to extend Robin Lehner a year ago, we right from expansion, we were always looking for our next goalie. We were fortunate to have Marc-Andre be available to us in expansion. We knew that we were going to have great goaltending as a young franchise, which we deemed to be extremely important. But from there, we were always asking the question, who is our next goalie going to be? And I think that's where Robin, slots in real nicely. He's got 4 years left on his term. He's at the prime of his career. And, that'll give us the type of goaltending that you need to win. And, that's, how this decision, that's partly what this decision was based on.
Last question for Kelly today. We'll go to Danny Webster, NHL.com.
Hi, Kelly. In terms of the player you got back, can you just speak to Hakkarainen, the kind of player that he is, and kind of what you expect his role, whether it be in Henderson or what kind of the expectations you have of him?
Yeah, with Mikael Hakkarainen, he will remain in Chicago's organization. This is more of a situation where NHL teams have a certain number of contracts that they're allowed. This keeps that equal in this transaction. So he's going to remain with the Chicago organization, likely play in the American League with Rockford. It'll be our contract, but he'll remain part of their organization.
Thank you, Kelly, for taking the time today. Thank you to the members of the media for joining. We will have a full recording of today's press conference sent out shortly. Have a great day.